Sudan conflict history. Introduction. The Sudan conflict is a complex and long-standing crisis that has affected millions of people in the region. It has its roots in a history of colonialism, civil war, and political instability. In this script, we will explore the history of the Sudan conflict, its main characters, and the role of developed countries in the conflict. History. Sudan gained independence from British colonial rule in 1956. The country was divided into North and South, with the predominantly Arab and Muslim North and the predominantly African and Christian South. The North controlled the government, economy, and military, leading to tensions between the two regions. In 1983, a civil war broke out between the government of Sudan and the Sudan People's Liberation Movement, SPLM, a rebel group from the south seeking greater autonomy and an end to marginalization. The conflict lasted for over 2 decades and led to the deaths of an estimated 2 million people. In 2003, the Darfur conflict erupted in western Sudan when rebel groups from the non-Arab ethnicities took up arms against the government. The government responded with a brutal campaign of violence, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 300,000 people and the displacement of millions. Main characters. The main characters in the Sudan conflict are the government of Sudan, rebel groups such as the SPLM and the Sudan Liberation Movement, Army, SLMA, and various ethnic groups in the region. The government of Sudan, led by President Omar al-Bashir, was accused of human rights abuses, including ethnic cleansing and genocide, during the Darfur conflict. Al-Bashir was eventually removed from power in 2019 following months of protests. The SPLM and the SLMA were 2 of the main rebel groups in the Civil War and Darfur conflict, respectively. The SPLM eventually formed the government of South Sudan after a referendum in 2011. But South Sudan has since experienced its own conflicts. The various ethnic groups in the region have also played a significant role in the conflict. The non-Arab ethnic groups in Darfur, such as the Fur, Masalit, and Zaghawa, have been particularly affected by the conflict and displacement. Role of developed countries. Developed countries have played a role in the Sudan conflict through their support of the government of Sudan, involvement in peace negotiations, and humanitarian aid. China has been a major supporter of the Sudanese government, providing economic and military assistance. The United States, on the other hand, imposed economic sanctions on Sudan for several years in response to the government's human rights abuses. The African Union, the United Nations, UN, and various Western countries have been involved in peace negotiations throughout the conflict. In 2005, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, CPA, was signed between the government of Sudan and the SPLM, leading to the independence of South Sudan in 2011. Developed countries have also provided humanitarian aid to those affected by the conflict. The United States, for example, has provided over $2 billion in humanitarian aid to Sudan since 2011. Conclusion. The Sudan conflict is a complex and ongoing crisis that has had a devastating impact on millions of people in the region. The conflict has its roots in a history of colonialism, civil war, and political instability. The main characters in the conflict include the government of Sudan, rebel groups, and various ethnic groups. Developed countries have played a role in the conflict through their support of the government of Sudan, involvement in peace negotiations, and humanitarian aid.